I'd like to introduce one of the, as I alluded to before, one of the latest in a long string of people I've recently fallen in love with, Lisa Fitzhugh. Lisa has been politically active pretty much her whole life. I think she ran for president of her kindergarten. She moved to Seattle about 20 years ago from Baltimore. We haven't talked about this, but we have this plot. I moved here 15 years ago from Boston. We have this sort of overarching plan that as the East Coast transplants take over, sooner or later we'll be able to disagree with each other without hating each other here in Seattle. So she also formed Art Corps, which is a really, really cool transformational group. So Lisa Fitzhugh, welcome.
Thanks, Tim. So I know you guys' cups are getting full, so I'll try to be brief. I am here. I want to tell you why I'm here. I'm here to bring a call to arms to this group. But first I need to tell you who I am. I'm a mother. I've lived in Seattle almost 20 years. I've had and survived cancer when I was 31. Laughter is my medicine of choice, and love, I'm finding more and more, is the only way I know how to live. I used to have a career in politics. I became increasingly disillusioned. It's too far away from real people's lives. I started and ran a nonprofit for 9 years. I became increasingly unsatisfied. It's too constrained by narrowly defined goals and almost unassailable perception by others that our impacts are small, minor, and insignificant. Today I'm here because I read an article in Real Change by Jesse Agopian, who's the leader of the community movement to save our schools from closure. He talked about the irony of closing city schools and jewels, and at the same time proposing to build a new jail. I already knew these two things to be happening, and yet in that moment, everything changed. I could see the whole of it laid out in front of us. It's a supremely pivotal moment, and it exclaimed to me, I am here. This is our community's fork in the road, jails versus schools. We have been given an amazing opportunity to look at these investments squarely in the eye and choose between very different futures. We've been barreling down this path of a diminished humanity for some time now, depending on who you talk to and what your perspective is. Some say it began when we started cultivation of land to feed large numbers of people a millennium ago, but this in turn created the first cities, which were both at the same time more powerful, with new capacities to control citizens, and vulnerable, open to invasion. We've been warring over territory and losing our connection to the earth and our truest nurturing selves ever since. A few hundred years ago, we reframed the world again, and this time in more mechanistic terms, following Newton, the capacity to break everything down into its constituent parts. Our understanding of the world has grown exponentially, and yet it has confined us to valuing only the tangible, and it's limited our ability to see the interconnectedness of things. We have pushed the control and the concrete sequential paradigms as far as they can go. They might have served a purpose at one time. They have. We've created magnificent civilizations and unimaginable scientific progress. But we're at the end of this road. We are entering a new age. Witness Obama. Okay? The old era, it's represented by the war on humanity policies of George Bush and his cohorts, and it's breathing its last gasps. The spiraling economy, it mirrors this death. And the decision by the city to build a jail and incarcerate more people, those people most marginalized in our community, those of us neglected for the longest, those of us with the least, is Seattle's last dying ember of an old era. Today, we come together to suggest, let's let this one die. Let's wrap it up. It's time to lay the foundation for our era that is all of ours, not just some of ours. Our era is local, it's human, it's creative, it's cultural, it's collaborative. It's rooted in empathy and forgiveness. It sees the interconnectedness of things. It looks for as yet untried responses to every challenge. It celebrates failure and our capacities, each of us, to learn from failure, given the right tools and the conditions and supports. It turns the taking phenomenon and it turns it on its head, and it emphasizes reciprocity, giving and receiving again in equal measure. It's about a really wide lens. It's wide enough to make room for all perspectives and life experiences, so we can all share in making this community. It's about becoming our fullest potential as human beings, putting aside negativity and fear that confines us to small, diminished states of existence. And today, right now, we decide to make the choice that will lead us into this new era. We decide to start here in Seattle, where the choice has been offered to us like a golden egg on a velvet cushion. Jails are symbols for punishment, broken lives, ruptured communities. Schools are symbols for nourishment, healing, and empowered communities. Fear or love, it's our choice. It's our time. Let's do this thing.